President Erdogan has long been very outspoken in his criticism of Israel's treatment of Palestinians, and he has actively condemned what he sees as Israeli aggression. Erdogan has issued a stern warning to Israel in light of Israel's approach to quell Hamas support around the world. His warning can be interpreted as a firm response to protect what Turkey considers its sovereign territory, as well as a signal of Turkey's unwavering support for Hamas, which Erdogan sees as part of the Palestinian resistance to Israeli occupation. The recordings revealing Israel's plans to target Hamas leaders around the world, including in Turkey, Lebanon, and Qatar, prompted Erdogan's warning. This incident highlights Turkey's tense relationship with Israel, with Erdogan seizing the opportunity to assert Turkey's position against any potential Israeli incursion or action on Turkish soil. The revelation that Israel intends to conduct operations against Hamas leaders beyond its borders, combined with Erdogan's unequivocal response, has heightened tensions between the two countries. Following the release of the recordings, Ankara issued a warning to Israel on Monday, emphasizing that any attempt to assassinate Hamas members on Turkish soil would have serious consequences. President Erdogan reiterated this threat, emphasizing Turkey's seriousness about the potential targeting of Hamas operatives within its borders. The situation exacerbates tensions between the two countries and highlights the seriousness of the diplomatic and security challenges at hand. Following the October 7 attacks in southern Israel, Erdogan took a firm stance against potential Israeli plans to establish a buffer zone inside Gaza as a preventive measure. He called the idea of a buffer zone disrespectful and expressed his displeasure, claiming that Gaza belongs to the Palestinians. Erdogan went on to say that Turkey does not recognize any decision-maker who disregards Palestinian people's choices. It doesn't stop there. During an awards ceremony in Ankara, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan sparked further controversy by drawing a parallel between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Adolf Hitler. Erdogan's comparison attempted to equate Israel's actions in Gaza with Nazi Germany's heinous atrocities committed during the Holocaust. This provocative historical parallel drew immediate condemnation from Israel and the international community. Likening contemporary leaders to figures such as Hitler is frequently deemed inappropriate and offensive by the community. The remarks strained Turkey's already strained relationship with Israel, which had been strained over a number of issues, including the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the status of Jerusalem. Officials in Israel strongly condemned Erdogan's remarks, accusing him of using inflammatory rhetoric that hampered the possibility of constructive dialogue between the two countries. Erdogan responded to the comparison of Netanyahu to Hitler, claiming that criticism directed at Hitler now applies to Netanyahu. He argued that Netanyahu's actions are similar to Hitler's, emphasizing the similarities. Erdogan noted in his remarks that Netanyahu is wealthier than Hitler and has the support of the West, particularly the United States. Erdogan, Turkey's president, is now harshly criticizing Israel, a shift from when the two countries were getting along better. The shift in tone occurred as a result of Israel's actions in Gaza, which caused significant damage and upset many people in the region. Previously, Turkey and Israel were improving their relations, but Erdogan is now criticizing Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government. Back in November, Erdogan called Israel a terror state and accused it of receiving strong support from Western countries. The recent conflict in Gaza has enraged Erdogan, leading to harsher criticism. The strained relationship between Turkey and Israel demonstrates how regional events can affect diplomatic ties between countries. In response to Erdogan's criticism, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu retaliated by citing human rights violations in Turkey. Netanyahu emphasized Turkey's alleged record of human rights violations, particularly in its conflict with armed Kurdish groups. The Israeli leader accused Erdogan of genocide against Kurds and drew attention to Turkey's imprisonment of journalists who spoke out against Erdogan's rule, emphasizing the large number of journalists detained. Netanyahu's counterattack sought to shift the focus to Turkey's internal affairs, portraying Erdogan as morally unqualified to criticize Israel. By drawing attention to alleged human rights violations and repression of dissent within Turkey, Netanyahu sought to undermine Erdogan's international credibility. Erdogan reiterated his position that Hamas is not a terrorist organization. He advocated for Turkey's involvement in any post-war solution for Gaza, emphasizing the importance of including Hamas in reconstruction efforts. Despite Western support for removing Hamas from Gaza, Erdogan insisted that excluding and destroying Hamas is not an option, echoing his long-held position on the Palestinian organization's status. Erdogan has maintained regular contact with Hamas leadership since the conflict began in October. Over the years, Turkey has developed strong ties with the Hamas movement, even allowing them to operate from an office in Istanbul for more than a decade. This long-standing relationship demonstrates Turkey's unwavering support for Hamas and reflects Erdogan's stance on the Palestinian issue. Despite Turkey's insistence that it only hosted Hamas' political wing, Israel provided Turkish intelligence with evidence in 2020 indicating that members of Hamas' military wing were operating from the same office. Saleh al-Arori, who is based in Beirut, is said to have overseen the activities. This revelation contradicts Turkey's previous claim that the office only served the Hamas political faction. Members of Hamas, including those from its military wing, are accused of orchestrating terror attacks against Israel from an office in Turkey. There are also claims that this location served as a hub for developing methods to transfer funds to Hamas activists in the West Bank, further implicating the office and activities associated with the support and coordination of terrorist activities. These allegations have added to Turkey's and Israel's concerns and tensions over their respective positions on Hamas and the group's actions against Israel. Turkey recalled its ambassador to Israel for consultations in early November, prompted by the Gaza conflict. Despite this measure, Turkey clarified that it was not completely severing diplomatic ties with Israel. Turkey's decision to recall the ambassador reflected its concern and dissatisfaction with the situation in Gaza, indicating a strain in their recently restored diplomatic relations. It's worth noting that the two countries only re-established full diplomatic ties in August 2022 after years of strained relations. Experts question whether Turkey is uniquely positioned to mediate between Israel and Palestine as the conflict between the two countries continues. Turkey has emerged as a potential mediator, offering its diplomatic efforts not only to halt Israel's bombardment of the Palestinian enclave, but also to contribute to the achievement of long-term peace in one of the world's most difficult conflicts. Turkey's role as a mediator demonstrates its commitment to fostering dialogue and finding a solution to the long-running Israeli-Palestinian conflict. By stepping forward in this capacity, Turkey hopes to use its diplomatic influence to reduce tensions, facilitate negotiations, and encourage a peaceful resolution to the conflict. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has led Turkey's efforts to position itself as a global player by leading the country's bid to mediate in the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Erdogan's goal is not only to put an end to Israel's bombardment of the Palestinian enclave, but also to contribute to a lasting peace in one of the world's most complex and enduring conflicts. This diplomatic initiative is part of Turkey's broader strategy to increase and showcase its international influence, its ability to mediate in difficult geopolitical situations. Erdogan is positioning his country as a key player in conflict resolution, drawing on Turkey's previous success in mediating between Ukraine and Russia, particularly in facilitating a deal for Kyiv to export grain. The October 7 Hamas attack on Israel and the subsequent Israeli air raids on Gaza occurred at a time when Ankara and Tel Aviv were working to improve relations. This period saw a significant shift in relations, as both countries attempted to repair a diplomatic schism that had existed for more than a decade. Turkey maintains diplomatic relations with Hamas and is one of the few countries with clout with the group, which has ruled Gaza since 2007. Despite this, Ankara has not declared Hamas a terrorist organization. This stance has sparked outrage in Tel Aviv, which claims that Hamas members based in Turkey are planning attacks on Israel. Turkish officials have actively used their diplomatic advantage in maintaining relations with Hamas, particularly under the leadership of President Erdogan and his foreign minister, Hakan Fidan. Recognizing Turkey's unique position as one of the few countries with influence over the group, they have advocated for Ankara to play a central role in mediating and resolving the ongoing Gaza conflict. Erdogan and his team intend to use Turkey's diplomatic ties to contribute to peace efforts and potentially mediate a resolution to the conflict in Gaza between Israel and Hamas. Erdogan is known for his astute use of geopolitics to advance Turkey's goals, as well as his pragmatic approach. When it serves his interests, he has demonstrated a willingness to compromise, deviate from his ideals, maneuver between the West and Russia, and make amends with adversaries. However, Erdogan's stance on the Palestinian issue has been cautiously unsuccessful. Despite the fact that it forces him to be alone, he sees it as a personal calling to speak out against Israel's actions. This attitude is clearly driven by personal conviction, philosophy, and a strong emotional connection to the cause. Turkey has taken an unusually outspoken and anti-Israel stance within NATO, establishing a distinct position under President Erdogan's leadership. Erdogan has organized pro-Palestinian rallies himself, demonstrating a hands-on approach to expressing Turkey's solidarity with the Palestinian cause. In doing so, he has been unrelenting in his criticism, not only of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but also of the US for its perceived alliance with Israel. He not only amplifies Turkey's anti-Israel sentiment by leading such rallies, but he also positions himself as a prominent advocate for the Palestinian cause within the NATO alliance. If you enjoyed this video, we'd love to get feedback from you, as this helps us make better videos tailored to your specifications. Please don't forget to subscribe, as well as turn on post notifications so you never miss any of our videos.